We're going to start by drafting our front bodice pattern on a piece of paper. After doing that, the first measurement we're going to take is from your shoulder to where you want the neckline to start. And for me, that's 5 3/4 inches. You're going to measure it and mark it. After that, we're going to measure from the neckline to your under bust measurement. So likewise, you're going to measure and mark that as well. Next, I'm going to extend my center dot line to the neckline. And I'm going to measure 3/8 of an inch on both sides. Okay, and draw and connect it to the dot here. And I have already explained why I'm taking out 3/8 of an inch in one of my previous videos, and I'm going to be linking that in the description so you can really understand it. Then for my neckline, I went in by 1/2 inch on my neck width, and I'm going to be connecting that to the neckline. On the waistline, I'm going to square a line from the dart leg to the under bust line, and I'm going to be doing this for the 2 dart legs. Then I'm going to draw a curve from that new point into the dart head. Next thing I'm going to do is to add seam allowance to the pattern, and I added 1/2 inch to the waistline, a 3/4 of an inch to the side seam, 1/2 inch to the armhole, and 1/2 inch to the shoulder. And after doing that, I'm going to cut it out. And you're just going to watch and see how I cut it out into the different parts. And for this section, that's from the under bust to the waist, I don't want to have a seam in between, so I use the sellotape to join the paper together so I can have one piece of fabric for it. Now for this middle section, I went ahead to indicate that this would be my center front, and I'm going to place it on another paper and cut out another one. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to keep the original one aside and make use of this copy. I divided the pattern pieces into 2, so I just drew a straight line in between both of them, and I'm going to be cutting these lines so that we can slash and spread the patterns. You're going to cut the patterns all the way through and then place it on another piece of paper. And I drew a vertical and a horizontal line to act as a guide so that these patterns will be straight. Then I numbered the patterns so that I don't get confused and mix them up. And after doing that, I'm going to place the first piece on the paper and tape it down. And then I spaced it out at 2.5 inches, and I just kept on placing it right next to each other, spaced at 2.5 inches apart. Then I drew a line to connect the ends of the pattern. Next thing I did was to draw 1/2 inch at the top and at the bottom of the pattern for seam allowance. And the side seam and armhole already has allowance added to it, so we won't be adding any allowance now. And this is what it is cut out. And this is the complete front pattern. This is from the underbust to the waist. That's the pattern for it. That's for the ruffle. And this one is for the under part that's going to be under the bust. It's going to be under the ruffle. And then we've got this for the strap. And for the back pattern, we're going to drop that as well on a piece of paper, and I already went ahead to include my zipper allowance. And all I'm going to be adjusting for the back is the neckline. I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on the shoulder, and for the depth is 1 inch. I'm going to connect these 2 points, and that will form my back neckline. And then next thing I did was to add my seam allowance all around the pattern. And that's it for the back pattern. For this one, I added 1/2 inch allowance up there, and I cut out one piece on fold for the fabric. And for this part, I added seam allowance here, here, and here, and I cut out 2 pieces on fold for the fabric. And for this other part, I added seam allowance up here, in front, and down, and I cut out 4 pieces of fabric, while for this part I only added allowance on the down part, and I cut out 2 pieces on fold for the dark green fabric and 2 pieces on fold for the chiffon fabric too. For the ruffle, I cut out 1 piece on fold, and I added 6 inches extra in the front because I thought that the fabric was too light and it wouldn't be full enough. Now for the back, you're going to cut out 2 pieces of fabric, and I transferred my dart markings to my fabric using a chalk. I also cut out 2 pieces using the fabric for the back facing. For the skirt part, I cut out a 1/4 circle skirt for the front unfold, and for the back I used the front to cut out the back, but I added an extra inch for the zipper allowance. And I have previous tutorials showing how to cut out a 1/4 circle skirt, so I'll be linking that in the description. You can go and check it out. Now we're going to be joining our front parts together, and you're going to turn it over right side facing, pin it and sew it. After doing it for this one, we're going to do it for the lining as well. After sewing, you're going to use your steam iron to press the seams open. On the ruffle fabric, we're going to make a basting stitch at 3/8 of an inch from beginning to the end, at the top and at the bottom of the fabric. After doing that, the next thing we're going to do is to gather the fabric so that it will fit the main fabric underneath it. And you're going to pin the middle points together so it's easier. Gather one end towards the middle, and to gather the fabric, you're going to pull on the bobbin thread of the fabric. After gathering it, spread them out evenly, then use pins to hold it securely to the fabric. Now we're done with one side, we're going to repeat the same process for the other side. And after you're done with the top part of the fabric, go ahead and do the same thing for the bottom part of the fabric. After you're done, use pins to secure the chiffon fabric to the under fabric. And as you can see, the gathers are concentrated towards the bust area, and I just left the fabric to lay flat towards the side. Next, I'm going to make a stay stitch all around to secure the ruffle to the fabric. After you're done, this is what it should look like now. Now moving on to the straps, I'm going to lay the chiffon fabric over the main fabric, and I'm going to be pinning it all around and making a stay stitch to join both of them together. After doing that, I'm going to use my iron to fold it and press it. The next thing we're going to do is to sandwich the straps in between this layer and the lining layer, and we're going to sew it at the top. But before I sew it, I'm going to trim the seam allowance for the lining just to reduce the bulk at the seam. Then you're going to make an understitch at the lining at about 1/8 of an inch to keep the lining from coming out on the top. Next thing we're going to be doing is to be attaching this under part to the top part, and there are two ways you can do this. So you can either attach this part to the two of them at once, or like I did have to cut out a lining fabric. I'm going to be attaching this part to the main fabric, and then my lining fabric to the under one, that's the lining for the top part. But if you do not have a lining, you can just attach both of them at once. After I was done, I used my iron to press the seams open. Now I'm going to be joining the lower seam allowance of the main fabric and the lining together. Next I'm going to do is to join the skirt to the top of the dress. And this is what it's looking like now. Now moving on to the back, we're going to fold over the dart, pin it and sew it. And when you're done, you're going to press the dart towards the center back. And the next thing we're going to do is to attach the skirt to the bodice. After joining it, you're going to lay the two of them together, and I matched up the waistline and I used a pin to secure it. Now from the waistline, you're going to measure 8 inches and use a pin to make a mark at the 8 inches point. And from the 8 inches point, you're going to pin the rest of the skirt down and sew it. Then use your steam iron to press the seam open. Now for the remaining part that I've left open, I'm going to be attaching an invisible zipper at that point to close it up. I'm done fixing the zipper, and by the way, I just learned a new method of fixing an invisible zipper, and this is the best method I've learned so far. And if you would like to see this method, or if you'd like to see a tutorial on it, leave it in the comment section and I'll make one. And when you're fixing it, don't forget to leave out your allowance before the start of the zipper teeth so that you can fix in the neck facing. Next, we're going to lay the facing over it and sew it. Then we're going to make an understitch at about 1/8 of an inch on the facing. Then you're going to fold it over like so, and I folded it over with the seam allowance inwards towards me, and I'm going to pin the facing to cover the raw edge of the zipper. After doing that, I'm going to trim it a bit to reduce the bulk and turn it over to the right side. And this is what it should look like when you're done. Now I'm going to be joining the front and the back at the shoulder seams. So with right side facing, you're going to pin the front and the back together and join them. Then we're going to join the side seams together. So you're going to turn it over with the right side facing and sew it. To make the sleeve, I used my sleeve pattern to cut it out, and I added 3 inches to the front and 6 inches to the down part, because the sleeve is longer than your long sleeve measurement. It covers your hand too. At about halfway on the sleeve head, I'm going to make a notch. And I'm also going to make a notch on the center. Now opening up the sleeve to the right side of the fabric, I'm going to measure 9 inches from the top of the sleeve, and I'm going to make a mark, and I'm going to draw a straight line across the sleeve. For me, I made use of a chalk. Because this is the right side of the fabric, you're going to use something that is erasable. Now on the down part of the sleeve, I'm going to be measuring 6 inches and marking it as well and drawing a line across. I'm going to start shirring the fabric from this line and moving downwards. And also this one too, I'm going to start shirring the fabric from that line downwards. And to share the sleeves, we're going to be making use of an elastic thread in the bobbin, and I used a white thread, and we're going to be hand binding this thread onto the bobbin. You're going to make sure that while you're winding it, you do not stretch the thread while doing it, so just do it slowly until your bobbin is full. Now going to the machine, as I said earlier, we're going to start shirring from the line that I drew. And so when you share all the way to the end of the line, you're going to lift up your presser foot like I did and just go to the next line and start shirring. And I used the edge of my presser foot as a guide. So you can either draw rows of lines or just use the edge of your presser foot as a guide to do the next lines. And then you're going to continue doing this. I did about 4 lines till you're done. As you keep shirring, you're going to be drawing, using your hands to draw your fabric so that it's straight as you sew. And when you're done with the top part, you're going to go and do the same thing for the down part. After doing that, you're going to use your steam iron to press steam over the part you just shirred, and this will cause it to shrink in size. Next thing we're going to do is to join the sleeves together. And I used a French seam to do this. When you're done joining the sleeves, next thing we're going to do is to fold over the hem twice and sew it. On the sleeve head, I made a basting stitch between the notches that I made earlier. Next, we're going to be attaching the sleeve to the dress, and we're going to be doing it like you can see. So I matched up the center point, and I'm going to pin it all the way till I get to where the basting stitch starts, and I'm going to pull on the bobbin thread to gather the fabric so that I can fit into the armhole of the dress. Once you're done with that, you're going to secure it. Do the same thing on the other side and sew the sleeve. And lastly, we're going to hem the dress by folding it over twice and sewing it. I also attached a hook and eye to the back facing where the zipper starts. And that's it, your dress is ready. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, share with your friends. If you have any questions, You can leave those in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.